Having multiple kids can financially ruin you. I'm going to give you an example. I was 19 years old. I had my first kid, my daughter. She's now 18. I had no idea what I was doing, but I knew I had to get money. You know, I wasn't taught how to be a dad. There was no blueprint to life for me. My parents wasn't around. I never had my parents growing up. I started working for my uncle at 7 years old, washing cars every day. So I was after school, I would go wash cars. I couldn't play sports or anything. I was washing cars. But that was back and forth from Chicago to Mississippi. So I had my first daughter in Mississippi, and that kind of like made me grow up a bit even more, because I had responsibility. I dropped out of high school. I went back to Chicago, went back to high school, and graduated. After that, it was truck driving. No, it was military and then truck driving school. But I have a degree, which I wish I would have went and got a trade instead of a degree. But that's another topic. Uh, as you can see, as in these lawsuit settlements with the government for these for-profit schools. But having kids, especially what I did, was I committed a grave mistake by having kids with multiple women. You know, different households, never been married, and as I'm approaching my 40s, I've learned, I've learned a hard lesson by going to court multiple times for some type of custody, child support. Kids cost, especially daycare. Daycare has went up since I've had my daughter, which I have four now, three boys plus a girl, which she's grown now. But daycare is probably 2 to 3 times more per week or per month than what I grew up on as far as 20 years ago when I first had my child almost 20 years ago. So you can imagine having a kid now and it's inflation. Um, it's plenty of jobs, but they don't tell you this. There's plenty of low paying jobs available, so you have to work two and three jobs, which I had to do back in the day because I was almost homeless. I was fighting the case as well. My last son's auntie, they had went and lied on me, so I had to fight. In Tennessee, if somebody goes and sign paperwork on you, you got to fight that in court. There's no witness or not, and I don't know what they had on a 911 call. That's another thing they can use against you in court, 911, whatever you say on that. So just imagine you in the heat of the moment, you mad, and then you say something crazy, which they can turn around and use that in court against you. So you got all these odds against you in life, and I can pass this on to the younger generation. Hopefully you listen to this. Hopefully you still living with your parents. You got a job, Chick-fil-A, McDonald's, whatever. You might go to college, or you might go to trade school, and you mess around and listen to the Financier Pro podcast, author Adidas Wilson, and because of this topic, you find it interesting. Let me tell you this: instead of trying to have all these girlfriends, I'm talking about from a male point of view, because this is what this is aimed towards, since I learned from my mistake, and I don't want, women to take it differently either. But just from my point of view, you know, you do not want to have a baby or multiple babies at 18, 19, 20 like I did, you know, 19 years old starting out. No financial background, no financial help, no financial stability. So, being at my age now, I've learned that I don't want to be an old a man having kids. I don't want to be an old man with back child support where I can't even leave the country and go on vacation because if you owe more than 2,500, you can cancel your passport. You will not get or leave the country. You will not get back in the country. But if you listen to these things and avoid that passion of the moment and think about your financial future, you can, whatever happens later in life, you can be prepared for it because you're financially stable. Maybe you get married, maybe you don't get married, or even if something happens, I did have a lawyer. I did have a lawyer and I paid, I got as much time with my kids as possible when I went to court. But it's different when you marry because it's just a different type of thing they do. I know this because my brother was married and he got a divorce and he doesn't pay child support, but I do. You know, I believe a big reason is because I wasn't married. And maybe the laws are different as well in another state, but who knows? But just imagine if I was just dependent on a job. That's another thing that saved me. If you just depend on a job, a 9 to 5, and you have multiple kids, multiple child support orders, and you got other bills as well, you're probably going to work until at least until you die or up in age where you're not really far behind in child support or you make enough money where you can live comfortably, hopefully. But for most people, they live paycheck to paycheck. On top of that, you have child support, daycare, your regular bills, light bill, water, mortgage, whatever. So you have to think about these things. And the trap in America is debt. Debt is a trap. The American nightmare, as I call it. And I will do a episode video on the American nightmare, which I just said is debt. Debt to income can stop you from getting a house. It can mess up your credit. It can mess up your life, stress you out, things like that. So imagine me fighting a case, fighting to get custody or some form of custody of my kids, which these things take years. These people don't care about you. They do not care. That's why it's get rich or die trying every single day with me. You can set up an LLC. You can have your assets, royalties, whatever under an LLC. They can't touch it, or they will never find out. I don't know if they could touch it, but they'll never find out unless you spill the beans or say something. But you set up a business, your son's mom or daughter's mom will never know unless you tell them. That's what saved my butt on that. But this is not to avoid child support. Don't get me wrong. I love my kids, take care of my kids. But this is to take care of yourself because if you can't take care of yourself, you damn sure can't take care of family, you know? So you spend a fortune on child care. You have months where you struggle to save a dime. Most people don't have 5,000 saved in the account in America, you know? They don't have between 3,000 and 5,000 in the savings account. They don't have money saved up for a rainy day because they're paycheck to paycheck. And what this podcast and what this YouTube channel is about personal finance that covers everything, relationships, credit, whatever it may be, because these things are part of our life ever since we were born, and we don't recognize that if we're not taught that at a young age. Like I wasn't. I was taught how to be a hustler. I wasn't taught business minded. I wasn't taught wealth building. I was taught how to hustle, which was washing cars. I'm talking about legal hustles, washing cars. I worked at a restaurant, things like that in high school. So I know now you can probably get a job at Chick-fil-A for maybe at the age of 15, I believe, 15 or 16, which is cool. But this is not to downgrade women or anything like that, because we all come from a woman, and we have to, give our shout outs to women, for bringing us in the world. But at the same time, you have to be smart about having kids. You have to be smart about marriage. You have to be smart from the start. You know, as soon as you start working, you should start investing in knowledge of wealth building, investing in savings. Get a Fidelity account. Parents, you can get a Fidelity account for your kids now and be over it till they're 18, and then turn it over to them. They have educational accounts, IRAs. I have a couple of S&P 500s in Fidelity, which the stock is down right now, but the stock market will go back up. So whatever you do, avoid having a kid or multiple kids at a young age, or a lot of middle-aged men, having kids, and they broke, you know, and they want to have multiple women. You can't have multiple women if you broke. I just don't think. Me personally, I can't date a woman, or I can't date if I'm broke. I do not feel right mentally, and I do not feel right spiritually if I'm broke. I do not think I can date right now. I don't care how fine she is. I just don't feel right if I'm broke, because that's one of my biggest factors, fears. That's probably my only fear in life, and it's not death. It's to be old and broke, and probably single as well, which I'll talk about on another podcast, because it actually happened to my uncle that raised me. He turned out he had Alzheimer's, from maybe black mold or something like that. But he's never been married, had multiple kids. He had a business, like I said, a couple businesses. But you can't really talk about the past because it's in the past. You don't have anything now. So make sure that you don't let the heat of the moment get you caught up, because that heat of the moment can put you in a prison cell mentally for 18 to 21 years. And if they go to college, it's 21. And even in some states, you got like 4 states, I believe, it doesn't matter. One of them is Mississippi. They're 21 years old until you can get off child support. So think about that. Think about you only making 2,000 to 3,000 a month, and 600 to 900 is going to your child support case. Because if they get back pay, if they ask for back pay, and they can prove that, that child is in daycare, they're gonna make you pay for that, and they're gonna make you pay for insurance as well. So on top of paying that 600 to child support every month, you'll be paying extra for insurance. That's why you need to have your financial life first, first and foremost stable, until you bring another human in this world. And you guys, see you next time. Please subscribe or follow. Until then.